Hello there, and welcome to Build Bite, the show where we highlight a loadout in a quick and convenient manner. The Gunner is a class that has been fairly neglected on the channel, so this very first episode of Build Bite goes to him. You might think it's the Driller who excels in elemental damage, but in fact the Driller isn't alone in his ability to devastate crowds of enemies with the assistance of the elements. The Gunner is fully capable of matching or even competing with the Driller's ability to eliminate crowds. In this episode of Build Bite, we'll be highlighting a build to give the Driller a run for his money, while also highlighting an unparalleled single target damage potential with a loadout I'll call the Pyro Strike. In this particular loadout, our goal is to excel at both crowd control and single target damage, and what better way to do that than with fire? For our minigun, we're using the Burning Hell overclock, which ignites all enemies immediately in front of you at the cost of extra heat buildup. This surely rewards you for getting up in the face of crowds, thus putting you in the crossfire of your teammates. It's for this reason I've applied the friendly perk. In addition, the dash perk goes very well with this up-close and personal playstyle, allowing you to quickly maneuver and dance within that sweet spot where you aren't so close to the bugs to where you risk taking damage, but also you aren't so far away so that you can't burn them. As the Tier 5 modification, we're going with hot bullets, just so that we might be able to burn things at a distance. Although, aggressive venting can act as a really excellent defense option that synergizes with this particular overclock. This overclock and Tier 5 mod will act as a foundation for the rest of how we build this weapon, and allow us great versatility in our ability to burn things from a safe distance. Magnetic refrigeration will boost our cooling rate to double its usual speed, allowing further versatility in that the pauses between bursts to allow for cooling are cut in half. On Tier 2, we go for ammo. While the damage is tempting, the minigun is not the tool we're going to be using to apply serious damage, but instead as a setup for massive bursts of damage with our revolver. We'll get into that in just a moment. For Tier 3, I'm applying blow-through rounds to deal potentially double damage to crowds, but if you'd like to go heavy into single target damage setups, armor breaking and stun can be used with suitable utility. Finally, on Tier 4, we're going for a lighter barrel assembly to cut our spin time in half, complementing the nature of the heating system and making pausing to cool off the weapon less damaging to your murderous momentum. With this setup on your minigun, you'll be running towards the trouble, maintaining pressure for as long as you need, and cleaning up crowds with ease. But most importantly, you'll be igniting the larger targets, setting them up for extreme persecution. The Bulldog Revolver will be our punishing hammer. Built for maximum damage and pinpoint accuracy, the only thing stopping you from dealing massive damage is the quality of your aim and your positioning. But the critical addition to this revolver setup is also the foundation for this entire build. Volatile Bullets, a balanced overclock, reduces your direct damage but increases damage output by a whopping 300% against burning targets. Once your target is engulfed in flames, your revolver does quad damage, and that's before weak point bonuses. Burning Praetorians, Menaces, Wardens, Goo Bombers, Spitballers, Oppressors, and even Detonators can receive serious damage in a very short amount of time, so long as you can take advantage of the time you have while those enemies are burning. This setup, especially with a Hot Bullets mod, can make for a quick solution to Goo Bombers from just about any range, so long as you have a line of sight. One weak point shot to a burning Goo Bomber instantly takes it out, making this a potentially good setup to take with you on Mactera Plague missions. This works especially wonderfully on Mactera Grabbers, although with those guys, they may be more likely to be up in your face, allowing the overclock to do most of the work instead of Hot Bullets. This is an excellent strategy against seed-based enemies as well, making quick work of breeders, Corlock sprouts, brood nexuses, and deep Tora hives. This build can wipe many of these enemies with near instantaneous results. against the Warden is perhaps where this build might impress the most. Just like with the Goo Bomber, you can instantly one-tap a burning Warden, so long as you can hit its quirky bulb. Where this build might start to struggle is with the larger enemy types that stay ignited for a shorter period of time. It's more useful to be able to keep those targets burning while you orient yourself to get a good shot on the target with your revolver. To increase the amount of time you keep those detonators and oppressors burning, we toss down an Incendiary Grenade. This build can be very powerful and very fun, and the unique skill curve within this build is a gradual but substantial one. But there are situations in which this build should be an absolute wreck of a decision to bring with you. For instance, having a cryo driller join, who may be absolute in his tenacity to attempt to freeze what you're attempting to burn, may very well ruin your plans. Ideally, you'd communicate to the driller to maybe not do that, hopefully politely, and maybe that would get you some results. In fact, having a cryo driller with this pyro strike build can actually be very effective at taking out hordes of fodder because of that temperature shock mechanic. But such an interaction with any of the larger enemies will end up being a net loss for your team. That temperature shock damage against a Praetorian is no match to the damage your revolver will do to him while he's burning. As well as this conflict, bringing the Pyro Strike build with you into an elimination mission is also poorly advised, as all of your strengths manifested in the form of heat damage will be null and void against a Dreadnought. They are immune to combustion after all. In fact, the same concept applies to all enemies immune to combustion, so that gun tower machine event may be more difficult if you decide to bring this build, but that said, it still won't be anywhere near impossible. The Pyro Strike build is a synergistic masterclass of Dwarven engineering, and I highly suggest giving it a go if you'd like to spice up your combat encounters. It excels in crowd control just as much as it excels in single target damage, helping your gunner fulfill his role in a blaze of glory. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Build Bite. Do you have any suggested loadouts? Be sure to leave them in the comments below. Who knows, it may be featured in the next episode of Build Bite. And don't be afraid to give it a little nifty name. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more Deep Rock Galactic content. Until next time, good luck in those caves.